poker and more poker, and then I fell asleep. It was so bad.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, you know, one day to play poker, it was fun. Poker's a good time. Hello, welcome. Doggy's cute.
Yeah, they tried to escape just now.
They tried to escape, but they're like running all over the place.
Somebody they were taking a picture.
Yeah.
Something.
Okay.
The leashes.
Oh no, oh no.
Freedom!
Welcome on. Goodbye. So long. Whoa! Alright, Uncle, I heard you over there!
I can't hear what you're saying, but I'm assuming it was good. I love you too.
Oh my God, that realized. All right, we'll get started. I like to be on time, so I'm Nebo Lyon. I'm from Iowa, so actually Cedar Rapids to be specific, and here to talk about kind of how to start a FurMeet. We'll start with, I guess, next slide here. So a few topics here, kind of the early years of the FurMeet, a rebirth of kind of how the FurMeet kind of grew in Iowa, with the house meets, bowling meets, and some New Year's special meets. My storm cons I have, and we can talk about a little bit of discussion about what makes a good meet, and then some issues that I've had over the time. So everyone here, I've heard, it sounds like a lot of you guys are from rural areas, pretty much. I mean, you're not quite. Sounds like it. So are you guys interested, obviously, in eventually starting your own FurMeets in your areas too? Okay, cool. Very cool. Makes sense here. That's why you're here, probably, right? So back in the day, there were just like very few of us Iowa people, and it's very, you know, before even Twitter, it's very hard for people to connect and find people in Iowa. It's like, well, there's a couple things like I think there was a global fur finder thing where people would put like their name and kind of where they were from and zip code. But to communicate with everyone, it was very, very tough to actually get them all on the same page. So what we did was, when I was dating at the time, one of the guys locally to me said, hey, I want to try a little FurMeet in North Liberty, which is south of here. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'll try to get as many people I know, like text them and see if they want to do this. So we picked a date about 2 months in advance and said, here, we're going to meet in this place in North Liberty. And I had my friend set up, Benji, and he basically ran a community center down there for free, I guess, and had a sign, and that was our plan. So we all met up there, and I guess backpedaling a bit, so I guess when I first met the first furry, I'm like, oh my God, you're a furry, I'm a furry. We're gonna be such great friends, right? Well, you know that doesn't always work out. So I think everyone was so excited to meet people that it's like, let's just do this. So I walk in the community center, and you know, it's kind of like, okay, this is weird. There's a little sign that says, I will FurMeet. So go in the side room, and there's about eight people there already. We sit down, a couple more people come, and it's about 3 minutes we start. It's like, all right. So we're like all looking at each other, kind of hands on our, you know, sitting on our hands. Very awkward. So we're like, what do we do? So anyway, it's like, well, let's go around the room and do introductions. Oh, okay, that sounds good. So introduce ourselves, what's your character, you know, something about them, where. So we talked about this, and then we quickly ran out of things to talk about, because none of us knew anything about each other. We're basically 12 people that just kind of randomly assembled in one area that had furry in common. So after about an hour, we had no planning or anything. We decided, well, let's go to the local mall. So we ended up leaving the community center altogether, drove south to the mall, had food, and then we just partied. So the whole meet might have lasted maybe 2 hours. And the whole time it was kind of awkward. So it's like, ugh. So we tried one of these about a year and a half later. Same thing, kind of didn't really have any plan or anything, got together. Same result happened. So for a long time, there really wasn't any Iowa FurMeets or Iowa groups or anything. So it's like, well, why is this failing? You know, I know there's other people that have meets that are fairly successful. Maybe it's just because Iowa's a small area, not very populated. And I mean, I can understand that. I mean, if you only have 1,000 people or 5,000 people in your town, it's going to happen. So, what did we do? Or what did I do? Yes. So about 2011, I decided to start my own FurMeet. And I have my own house that's very nice to do, so you can kind of control what's going to go on. But I had about 6 friends in my town. Cedar Rapids is about 250,000 people. So there's 6 or 7 people that I knew. Want to invite over, let's just play board games and have pizza. Okay, sounds good. So we're doing that, and it was pretty successful. It's like, well, 7 people, but you know, it's a little meet, but we all had something in common. We could play games and talk and socialize, and we knew each other fairly well. We got, obviously, after talking, we got to know each other better and better.
Yes.
So after about 4 months of this, one of my friends is like, oh yeah, I want to create a little fur page. I'm like, okay, cool. What do you want to do? Oh, I just want to actually get a calendar going so everyone can know when meets are going on and other events. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. So we created this little thing off a cheap free website. It's called Iowa First Forum. So we added a calendar there, so anyone can post events, and you know, you can be a member, just register, and as long as you're not trolling or something, you know, you can be accepted. And then also someone else at the same time, this is just when Twitter was starting, I think, they created a little Iowa First page, or Twitter, so people could log on there and also do the same thing. And after that kind of started growing the meets a little bit. More and more people start showing up. It was kind of crazy because, you know, I was like, oh, well, this is not going to be a big deal, you know, I'm not going to know 2 or 3 people, but it's like, hey, yeah, I'm from here, I'm from Cedar Rapids, I just want to try to attend their meets. So more and more people would just show up. It was like, wow, where are you guys all coming from? You know? But then you just start realizing how many people are actually out there. So this is just kind of a couple of pictures from some of the meets. It's my friend, our biscuit and truffles, and just looking out the windows. I was taking some low light shots here. It was kind of having a little fun. Another one in front of this is actually my house property. But there's like 10 of us here in fursuit. Just taking some low light pictures under the trees. I kind of feel this is why my neighbors don't talk to me anymore, though. But it's kind of weird because it's like after I started having these meets, other people started selling their houses around. I don't know. I don't know if there's any correlation or not, but whatever.
Well, see, then you have to get the furs to come in and buy those houses.
Yeah, right.
There you go. Yeah. Actually, one of those people did buy a house just like the next block over. But what was really weird was like we never talked to them. It was just like we're so close, we just never. I don't know if you've ever had that experience or not, where there's something in your hometown, like, oh, I should do this, but I never do it because it's in my hometown. I'll just do it later, and you never do it.
Serious? All your neighbors are moving out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, right now the person across the street's selling. The person across this way, I'm on a corner lot. They've sold their house once. The only person that's actually left is the next door neighbor. I really do contribute to, everyone in the neighborhood's fairly old. The lady next to me had actually built her house and lived in it for 55 years. So, I mean, and she's really nice, but I don't understand. I know she doesn't understand what's going on, but she's like, whatever. So, have a seat. Yes. So, as these meets started growing, 2012, 2013, I decided, well, let's try to do some other things. One thing that seemed pretty common, and it still is very common, are bowling meets, right? Have you guys been to a bowling meet before? Yes. Some of you have, some of you haven't.
You know Toro, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. Every time he does a meet, he does like, would you like a He runs
The local.
around out my area.
Okay. Because he also, doesn't he have a house and everything and has meets at his place too? Or?
Last year he did, but I wasn't able to go.
Okay. So, as far as bowling, of course, you know what, the hardest part is asking for permission. So you go in there, it's like, what do you say, you know? So anyway, we just went up there, showed a picture of what we do, said, hey, yeah, we're costume restorers. We'd love to get together just wear these silly costumes, typically animal costumes. Would it be possible someday that we come in, basically just rent 4 lanes out and bowl? And they're like, well, let me check with my manager. That's always the first answer. But most of the time they're cool because they want money, you know. And so that's what we did. We went around to several different ones and found one that's fairly large, actually had a nice changing area, and they were supportive of it. So we got in a good rapport, and then and eventually this guy was like, man, when are you guys coming back? You know, you haven't been back for a while, you're going to come back, you know. So it actually wasn't as nearly as scary as I thought it'd be. I think it's just getting over the initial hurdle of asking for permission. We also, like this recently, we had a small meet to go see Zootopia first. You know, that was kind of the thing to do too, furry. And I said, well, okay, I don't want to organize this because I'm really busy, but if you want to do this, go ahead and ask the manager. So he called both theaters. One said no right away. The other one, he said, well, I need to talk to my supervisor. And then we called back 2 days later. He's like, well, he was kind of impartial, so I guess I'll see you here. So I don't know, I mean, but you want to be good stewards, you want to be like assholes or anything. So we showed up, went inside, and then of course, instantly like the kids were just storming us. And when we sat down in kind of the front row, like below, so we didn't hinder people's vision, but of course the kids were just like, oh my god, this is amazing, you know, so it was a very, very positive experience. So anyway, so yeah, that's the basis of just actually talking to an owner and just seeing what their approval is. There's this other place, Cedar Rapids, called Planet X. It's kind of a gaming, it's kind of a mini Dave & Buster's. Same type of thing. Just went in there and said, hey, we want to rent out the party room, about this many people, that'd be okay? I said, sure, that sounds good. So first couple of those, they were pretty good too. So once again, just talk to them, just be straightforward. Don't really have to hide anything, and it worked out very well. Oh yeah.
Just there, like, I knew they were hers, but
I see.
just decided not to wear it. And I know there's, they're not allowed to wear a mask.
Oh, depending on the rules, absolutely. Fortunately in Iowa, there was just not really any rule about that. I can understand that for sure. Masks in public, that's definitely something you have to be careful about. Yes?
I got a question.
Yeah.
When you are approaching a organization or a location to, you know, to host a meet, like, or that you are going to a shooting event or anything like that,
Yes.
how do you sell them on the concept?
Well, like I said, I mean, you have to be just straight up what we're doing. You know, what's the purpose? Because right away, I mean, they're going to ask lots of questions. And some people are privy to what furries are pretty publicity about it too. They'll just shut down right away. And what you need to do is basically be up forth and say, hey, this is what we're I always like to say mascotters. It's a lot much easier to say than, you know, furries or whatever. But you know, we like to perform. We like to hang out. We interact well with crowds and kids. You know, I mean, a lot of times it's just that draw. You know, and then obviously showing a couple pictures of other events makes it really easy. Yeah. So, and definitely meeting in person, talking is much better than over the phone. So, and that's why I recommend. Yes.
I actually had a good suggestion from a panelist on
Okay.
another con I watched, that I watched the video on. They suggested making like a printed brochure that had this
Yeah.
information in.
Absolutely.
And bring one copy of that brochure for each person that you're going to talk to.
Absolutely.
And
There's
have the good information, put some pictures of positive interactions with kids or with other suitors and that.
Yeah,
Break
absolutely.
the ice a little bit.
There's a couple of groups that have wonderful hosting meets. Actually, the Minnesota Furs have a wonderful organization. It's nonprofit, and if you want to actually do your own meet, they'll actually give you some money to help start it, and they'll give you the support, which is really nice. Unfortunately, in Iowa, there aren't many people to help out, so it's kind of I'm typically the one organizing. But also in the Seattle SeaTech area too. Once again, there's a wonderful group. They actually have a non-for-profit organization that gets together, and they call them, I can't remember what they call themselves up there, but they do the exact same thing. They've gotten a very, very professional brochure. They can walk in and say, here's what we do, here's what it is, and show us some events. So yeah, absolutely, that's great. Yes?
If you're going to like a public venue, is there anybody you should talk to, like a park or something like that?
Absolutely, yes. Public areas, once again, it depends on the laws. If it's a park, typically there's not really any rules unless there's a mask rule. You gotta be careful for that. The ones, let me think about that. Like, when I host a meet in the park, it's just basically I say this is what's gonna happen. And there's like really no any questions, especially since you're like in your own confined area. But you gotta watch out if, especially if people like to walk into Walmart. That's not really a good thing. I mean, sounds kind of fun, but when you see someone in a mask, and especially if you're following around with a camera, that's just really bad, and that's private property. You really need to talk to a manager and say what you're doing. But yeah, it's always better to definitely ask than not to at all, because I mean, ARC had a very kind of a souring experience in the park.
Don't ever go by yourself.
Yeah, that's very true too. One of his friends basically got her, they couldn't find her. She decided to go out alone before everyone else got there, and then they couldn't find her. They spent half the time, and then I think the police came too.
Police came, escorted her off the property.
Yeah, so-
It's actually what ended up happening. So yeah, make sure you have a handler or you're with a group of people doing this.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way I'd go out just for suit in the public. It's just too dangerous, too many variables. I was in Ocean City actually, and we were a bunch of people walking the Doodah Parade. And even though we're still in a fairly large group, we're kind of separated out. These 6 or 7 people, teenagers, came up to me and started like pulling my tail, and you could definitely tell it wasn't a playful thing. Like one was trying to take my head off, and I was like, trying to stand up to them. And luckily, some of the handlers came over and saw what was happening. They kind of came over and befriended them too, and they kind of just walked off like, oh. But it can be a very dangerous situation in a controlled environment. I think everyone thinks, FurryCon, walking around the hotel, oh yeah, this is great, everyone loves us. Well, it's definitely not the same. Now, not that working at a public venue can be awesome too. It's some of my favorite places when I first get lost. Anyway, this is my local bowling alley, and once again, kids would come up to us and say, "Oh, can I take a picture?" Like right away, "Can I take a picture?" And the kid and everything, the father are having a great time. They're interacting with us. Some of the kids come up and play with you. It's amazing, So just that feeling alone for me is just very important. So our picture at the bowling meet here. This was actually something we decided to do. We walked around. This is going back to a public venue. We happened to be just walking around downtown. And I don't see it as being an issue, like I said, because there's no laws in Iowa saying you can't have a concealed mask on. And actually, no one even stopped us at all. Just a couple people gave high fives and stuff. And we walked around a couple bars and stuff. And once again, if you're on the property, what we did, we just had someone ask, you come in, and a lot of times they're like, "Oh my God, you guys are awesome! Come on in!" They're just so excited to see people like that. And these ladies are dancing and stuff and giving you high fives. So it's a lot of fun. But there are times where they say, no, don't, and they just walk away. Just don't press the issue.
Here's what you do.
If you're that comfortable, and don't get yourself in a bad situation.
So we started doing transports where we help take them from one city to another so they get out of social.
So as the years go by, I wanted to host some larger meets. I wanted to try like a New Year's birthday meet, Super Bowl. I wanted to get people together for other events too. New Year's obviously is a great time to get people together. It's a wonderful, even if nothing else planned, it's like, New Year's celebration, it's great because it's a time of year, we're bringing in the new year, it's a great time for camaraderie. Some of these events were starting to become 2 days and even 3 days long. And I was starting to gain actually quite a few people from out of state coming over. I'd have, I think my third or fourth New Year's event, I was having like people come from 5 or 6 states around. I was like, wow. So, and then that kind of goes back to the bowling and Planet X. So for larger meets, what I try to do is have a couple events planned that are fixed, like a dinners that's fixed, basically, and this is how much it's going to cost. Like the bowling or Planet X events, this is how much it's going to cost. People know right away how much do you expect to spend, because people don't like to say, okay, oh, I only have $4. It's like, well, you do. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, and that goes back to the planning part, which I'll talk about. This is actually Arcturus and Addie in my house, just coming up. It's a private, in a private home is a lot of fun. Just do random stuff.
Notice that it's impossible to take a photograph anywhere in the village hospital.
Yeah, I like lions. I kind of like lions, No bison, but
Me with tigers.
yeah, absolutely.
Tigers.
Tigers, lions, big cats, right? Great.
Oh yeah.
Big cats, yes.
You're half right.
Half right.
But also dogs.
And also dogs. No. I have a pool table downstairs, so we're having fun taking first 2 shots of pictures. This is so freaking hard. Even this shot was not a gimme. It's just like, oh my gosh, trying to see your vision and stuff. Tough. Yeah, exactly. Good luck. This is outside my house. People are tormenting me. This is at one of my birthdays, I think last year.
That's in 3 years.
So just another silly picture outside. Once again, it's just, what's funny is the only neighbor that can see is over here, so it's not that big a deal. I mean, not that I even care anymore, but it was so funny for a Halloween meet I had. So we were dressed up in fursuit. It's like a good excuse, even though, now I guess a question for you guys. If you're wearing a fursuit for Halloween, if that's your own, is that really Halloween? I mean, is that really count or not?
I thought it was my costume shirt.
That's awesome. She said she had this is my costume shirt. That's awesome. But, it almost feels like it's cheating, but it's a fun excuse, and everyone's like, oh my god, hey, you guys are right. So. One of my friends actually won a best costume at a local bar. Wearing one of his first. So, 2013, I decided to start this thing called, I think it was maybe for 2012. I started this mockery con called StormCon. I didn't know what to call it, so I'm like, well, my dog's named this Storm, I'll call it StormCon. So it's actually my largest of the meets. It has typically 50 to 70 people that show up. And what I wanted to do was something a little different. So what I did was called the park services, ran out of the pavilion, and said, yeah, I want to do this. So okay, cool, no problem. So I ran out of the pavilion and basically got all the, paid the fee to rent it out, and then say to everyone about 3 to 4 months in advance, this is when it is, and this is where we're going to meet, and then send everyone directions so they know where it's at, and obviously post it on social media and Facebook and Twitter and stuff. So. And I try to have what's really good about this is I try to have a little bit different events there. Plus, I have a sign-up sheet so I kind of know who's coming. It's not the end of the world, obviously. I say, yeah, if you're not signed up, no big deal. But I like to have people, because what we do there is do a potluck style. So everyone brings a side dish to share. I typically buy some hamburgers, hot dogs, and everything so everyone can enjoy, and we bring different activities and games and just relax, stay in the park. And what's nice about, I do this outside, but it's in a covered pavilion, so I can do it rain or shine. Obviously, if it rains, it's kind of annoying, you can't really do much. But, actually been very fortunate. It hasn't been raining any of the times that I've had it. It has been very warm sometimes. The other things that we do like is it's a nice park. You can walk around for student stuff, and typically there's other groups there that just love us too. So it's very fun. So to make it full fun, just a slide. My dog being fed food. That's why he's fat. Well, actually, he's not fat at all. So this is the Beaver Park. One of these events was it was wrapping up, and there was a kid's birthday there. Someone died there. You okay? Oh. So anyway, we walked over there, and then once again, it's when you're walking over to a group, you kind of gotta judge what they're thinking. If the family like starts like looking away and like no, then just don't go there. But if they go, yeah, they welcome you with open arms, and by all means infiltrate. That's probably not the right word to use, especially with furries. But sorry, I was like converge. Yeah. Yes. So anyway, but once again, these type of events make the news too, because watching all the people react is just amazing. So any questions so far? More questions? So I think the biggest thing I alluded to was what makes a good FurMeet? Well, common interest is the key. If you bring 20 people that are random strangers to each other, it gets very awkward. You always have the elevator syndrome where you see people and they just it's very interesting when people like look like this in the corner or like look down because they don't want to talk to anyone. It's just a social thing. We're not, if you don't know someone as strangers, it's not most people are kind of reclusive and want to hide. I'm definitely not, I'm kind of like that too. I don't want to really talk to someone on the elevator. Because then you start saying hi and then get off, it's like kind of awkward too. But the same type of thing happens psychologically. All people, and if you don't know what other people's activities are or what they like to do, it's very hard to get a conversation with them. So, board games, pizza night, that's wonderful. The bowling thing's amazing because it's like you don't have to talk to anyone technically. You just bowl and have a good time, take pictures. A gaming night, going out to arcade, wonderful movies. All those type of things are wonderful. If you're in a small area, what I'd recommend, if you have a couple of friends that are fairly close, say, come on over. But I would just say, plan them 3 or 4 months out, and be surprised when people will come. One of my friends out in Pennsylvania decided to do something like I did. Ran out of a pavilion in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, and people were like, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. And very first time he did it, he got 75 people out. So, pretty good. He had to kind of front the bill and everything, get everything organized, but it was very successful. Never done it before. Planning is a huge, obviously, to any meet, planning is very good. I always try to, in the larger meets, I always have whole events planned that are fixed. And I also put the cost down so people know how much they expect to pay out of pocket. I actually usually add a little, about 10 or 50% more, so it's going to be a little bit less than they expect. One of the things we do is a place called Mana dinner. And we basically go out for dinner and have a good time. And I basically say it's like $28 or something, but everyone that's gone has just loved it. So yeah, Art's shaking his head yes. It's just so good, It's just one of those wholesome things. Get together again. Family style dining, socialize. But once again, that takes planning. If you have a group of 30 people, you just don't want to bombard a restaurant and say, hey, we're here, You definitely want to give them ahead of time. So what this last time I did was I called them, we told we were going to have at least 25 people, so they actually gave us a downstairs place, kind of almost like a party. So that was rare. A little bit out of the way so we could be more rowdy if we wanted to, but it was wonderful because they had set up and it was all ready to go. So that was cool. I think for larger meets, me putting a Google form out there so people fill it out was wonderful. So you could also get the information out, either Twitter, Telegram, or email so people know where they're going, what time the events are happening. You can get a confirmation of, like I said, for the storm cons, what side dish you're trying to bring, so everyone doesn't bring all chips, which almost happened one year. I think one year we had all chips and all cookies and nothing else. So we're like, oh my god. So I had to run to the store and buy some other stuff, you know, and it worked out, but you know, you can only eat so many chips and cookies a week. And then you also get a good gauge of how many people are coming. So typically if you get 30 people that sign up, you're gonna have probably 5 people that don't sign up, that sign up on the sheet that can't go for whatever reason, but you also get another 20 people that might sign up and go last minute. So it's always kind of hard to gauge, but you know, at least you have a start. Obviously, having a good venue is important. I'm fortunate I'm able to own my own house, so I can have people in my house and have no problems. But you know, if you want to go to like a bowling alley or whatever, you know, just have everything set up so people can know what to expect. That's always a great thing to have. I'm also fortunate enough I have enough floor space to have people crash overnight, so people don't get the burden of having to get a hotel room if they don't want to. It's always nice too. Oops. And then promoting it all obviously is key. If you want to have a meeting like a small area, you definitely don't want to say, I'm going to have it next week. We actually have people that decide, oh yeah, I have a birthday in 2 days, I want everyone to come. It's like, 2 days, I'm busy. How can you be busy? It's my birthday. It's like, I'm sorry, and I need to get
2 days.
Yeah. I remember actually one local decided on July 2nd she was going to have a July 4th party. It's like, I'm busy, I'm sorry, I'm out of town, you know, and I think one person showed up. It's like, well, we need a bit more planning, you know, so. If you're going to have a meet in the middle of nowhere, definitely have people, or definitely post it early. Say 3 months out, you know, that's usually a good time, so people can plan, get off work if they need to, and that works. Obviously, using social media is always a wonderful thing. Twitter, any type of social media. So we get into fun little things. Obviously, hosting meets not all roses. So what can happen? Well, you gotta be worried. You know, any time 2 people get together, you can have property damage. You can get people that butt heads, almost have a fight. You know, what do you do about that? Or if you just don't plan properly. In my house, I've had some issues with people where I'll tell you one story where we had a couple of guys that I knew from Chicago. They wanted to come in, that's for sure. We were at StormCon and decided afterwards to go back and drink in my house. Okay, that's no big deal. You know, we had some beer and alcohol. So about 11:30 or 12:30 at night, I get this whoa. I'm like, what? Oh, my boyfriend's really, really sick. I said, okay, where is he? He's in the downstairs bathroom. And he's hunched over. Oh, what? Oh, I feel really sick. I'm not gonna throw up or anything, I'm just feeling really sick. I said, okay, you're right here. Toilet's right here. Please use the toilet if you get sick. It's like, oh, okay. I'm not gonna get sick. Boyfriend comes out 15 minutes later. Nabo. I'm like, yeah. Oh, he just puked up. I'm like, really? Couldn't make it the 4 feet to the toilet. He decided to puke up on the tile or on some clothes that were, because it's a laundry room. So I said, okay, does he have any clean clothes? Yeah, they're in the car. Okay, get his key, go out to his car, we'll clean it up. So I start cleaning it up a little bit, and walk out of the room, and walk out of the room while he's just still kind of hunched over on the floor while he's his boyfriend's getting his car opened. So then, I'm like, what? I broke the key in his lock. I'm like, what the hell? He's like, well, it wasn't turning, so I thought I just forced it and it broke. I'm like, oh my god. So I ran to my room and said, here, give your boyfriend some clean clothes. At this time, since his boyfriend was not thinking the smartest, he was basically taking toilet paper or paper towels and just flushing them down the downstairs toilet. So anyway, what do you think happens with that? Toilet paper in a toilet? Not very good, right? Or sorry, no, paper towel in a toilet. Started backing up. So, whoa, what? I'm like, the toilet's plugging up. It's backing up. Oh my God, seriously. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just thought I'd clean it up because I puked all over. And all I could find was paper towels. I'm like, oh my God, seriously. Just hang on there. Here's some clean clothes. Get the plunge box. So everything seems to be normal. I flushed it a couple times. It seems to be flowing again. I'm like, okay, I think everything's good. So by this time it's 2 a.m. You know, and I'm not really attending my party and hosting. I'm just kind of helping drunk. So 2 o'clock comes. And whoa! I'm like, what? Your basement utility room is starting to flow. I'm like, what? Well, obviously the paper towels had not cleared the pipe, and it runs almost parallel to the ground. And of course, the utility drain started backing up, and it was starting to leak onto the carpet. Oh my God! Since I had water issues in the past, I did have a little sump pump, and I was able to sump it into the sump pump. But, oh, I was just so mad. You know. And after all this, you know, I was just like, I'm done. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. So had the fans running to keep the carpet from not molding and stuff, and I put some disinfectant down, and pretty much went to bed. Of course, the next day they leave. They had to bring something up for the car. They got home though, but I had to get Roto-Rooter out there to unplug the toilet. And they found what? Guess what they found? They found paper towels in the toilet. So you know, that was an expense to me. And what's sad is I never invited them back, of course, but they didn't even offer to pay for anything. You know, they said, "Oh, it's okay." So I mean, stuff like that can definitely happen. I mean, and that's one of the things you can worry about. You have to be worried about too. Obviously, for large venues like this, you have to have lots of security on staff, and it's not easy because if you have some type of domestic dispute, all of a sudden you realize how understaffed you really are. So, but I mean, I don't want to sour the mood, but I mean, there's definitely things you have to think about there too. I do kind of wonder in the park, they do allow beer, you know, but I pretty much make sure that everyone is of age that's drinking, but I'm not going around actively. So if a policeman came by and found someone that's underage drinking, I'm kind of screwed. It's my responsibility. So I'm just, right now, I basically don't police it, but you know, that could be a bad situation. Furries with egos. That's a fun topic. So there was this one lady that showed up at my meet and saw that my meets were getting pretty successful, you know, 50, 60 people. So she decided, let's start a great con in Iowa. It's like, and what's funny is that this con IFC, Furry Migration, they all started from small meets. Furry Migration is the one in Minnesota. But what they did was they had great planning, great organization. Furry Migration would have these fall and spring meets in the park. And they were gaining over 200 people at these meets. So eventually they said, okay, let's go whole hog and get a meet or get a con going. And it's been very successful. This has been very successful. Well, she decided that she was the most business savvy person, so she just go on it alone. Not without anyone that I knew in the Iowa area's advice or anything. She had a name for it called Foxy. And she's like, let's not make it just for furries, let's make it for everyone. Let's make it for like gay, lesbian couples, let's make it for leather people, let's make it for, let's make it for all the different, let's make it for bronies, let's make it for Star Trek people. I mean, it's like, wait a minute, okay, that's kind of odd. And then she decided, well, she had the most qualifications to run this, so she just instantly was going to be the conductor of this. And basically, after all this was said and done, you can tell it was just because it was for her own ego stroking and her trying to get to a very popular status. So anyway, she decided to have a staff member of 4 other people that were board members. None of them which I'd ever heard of. And she said, well, I get 9 votes. These 4 people get 5 votes. So if you want to overrule me about anything, you guys can buy into my membership and get a vote each. So I counted like all the people in Iowa if we all band together and paid her money, we could have overridden her, which is ridiculous. So, and her qualifications, she said, was, I own a business, I am an assistant to a staff member at AC, whatever that means, and I'm a director at Morphicon. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Morphicon before, but it's a pretty low-level con. I mean, a lot of people haven't even heard of it, but even locals don't go to it. That's how bad it is. So anyway, and I found out later her business savviness was that she had an idea for a card game that she had not implemented yet. She had not actually sold anything or done anything. She said, well, I have an idea for it. That was her business sense. So, of course, this caused lots of rift in the Iowa group for a while. And she started to try to make this meet happen, and I'm like, no. So one of my other friends just like started flaming her back and forth. And that's not the way to go about things either. But basically, it was enough that she finally gave in and said, okay, fine. Just, you know, and I was basically said, you're not invited back to my meets. This is ridiculous. You can't have conflict like this over something this stupid. So that did not happen. But and it's one of those things where you can get people like that. And it's kind of sad, you know. I just want to get people together and have a good time, you know, enjoy, hang out. I even told her, you know, okay, you start your own meet in Des Moines, which is the capital of Iowa. Have a 2-day meet, have a couple of events planned. If it grows to something large, sure, by all means, let's try to do maybe a con in Iowa. But you know, she wanted to like rent out the biggest place in downtown Des Moines. I don't think she had a clue how much that costs. Renting even convention space for a con like this is like $40,000. That's a lot of money. And people think, okay, well, I got a hotel room that pays for it. No, it's registration that actually pays for it. So I just didn't understand her. I didn't have a clue where she was going to get money from. I had no idea, like, if she even talked to the city about if this is something good. She said supposedly, oh yeah, we have grants for this all the time. Okay, I've heard of that, whatever. So, you know, like, I'm not a stickler or opposed to having something like that start, but I definitely want to see something start fairly slowly. Prove that you can actually have something that's sustainable. I don't know if everyone's ever heard of DashCon. Did you go?
I was there. She was in the meeting.
Can
like,
you really?
The ball pit girl.
Are you really?
Like, all right, you know the greetings
Celebrity
from
right here.
DashCon?
Yes.
You know the greetings from DashCon?
Yes.
There's like the ball pit, and then there's 4 people sitting outside the ball pit.
You're one of those people.
I'm the one in the bright orange hair.
Oh my
I
God.
have a picture of it.
That's awesome.
I'm in the meme. I am the meme.
I'm trying to pull it up.
Like, it's, oh Lord.
Do you want to explain what DashCon was? Do you have a
Yeah, I see
Yes.
it. Greetings from DashCon.
It was a mess.
This is you.
So
right
basically, they
here,
wanted to get a ton
Yeah, yeah, the one with the blue backtrack, that's
Yeah.
my boyfriend at the time.
What were they guaranteeing, like attendance-wise, like 25,000 people or something silly?
I don't know exactly all of it. Like, okay, going to the con and experiencing it, it was not bad.
Okay.
But it's just there were a lot of things that were just like, what? Yeah, the biggest thing, obviously, the ball pit. Like, what? They said like, oh, there's gonna be a ball pit, and so it's like, okay, so one can assume that it's gonna be like decently sized. 'Cause,
Right.
like, this is at a con, like it's gonna be a decent ball pit. This thing was so crappy. There was like
If
duct
anybody
tape
doesn't
over
know,
the
it's
damn
about
thing.
like the size of the space. Like
Yeah, no, like
it's
there-
like
it's like a little kiddie pool like
Yeah.
that filled with
it was
1,000
teeny tiny.
balls.
Like there are pictures of like me and a whole bunch of other homestucks in it. I think we were able to fit like maybe 8 of us in there, like maximum. There were so many. It was just, oh my god. But it's like there was that, and there was a whole issue with Night Vale, and then the $17,000. There was. There was a lot of issues with running it and everything. I don't know what happened with the whole NSFW panel where apparently they were letting minors in. I have no
Oh, wow.
idea. I don't know. That's what I heard, but
Heard that.
I mean, the thing is, I don't really know. It's hard to tell. Like, I was even there, and it's hard to tell what happened. But the only thing that I know is that they genuinely sounded freaked out about the $17,000 thing.
Yeah.
Like, they basically like came into the panels like. What ended up happening was they started a panel, and I was sitting in this panel, and I was really excited for it because it was my first 18+ panel because it was on my birthday.
Oh wow, nice.
Cries. All this that was like running back and forth to like the side and was like talking on the phone or something, and it seemed kind of freaked out. I'm like, okay. And then they start the next panel, and like not even a full 10 minutes in, they're like, hey, so we need everybody to get down to the main events. Like, oh, and it's like, okay. So they just send us all down there and filled this whole room with all these people. We're like, okay, so thing is, we need the hotel is basically forcing our hand here and saying that we need to give them $17,000 by the end of tonight, or the rest of the con is canceled. And like people were flipping
Was
out.
this like Friday night, Saturday night, or
This
what?
was, oh god, what was it? Friday night.
Friday
Yes,
night,
Friday night.
so-
Yes, very beginning of the con. And I guess there was just like the lack of communication there as to when they were going to be paid or what. I don't know if that's the fault of the con. I don't know if it's the fault of the hotel. I know that they like during like the closing ceremonies or whatever, they explained a lot of what happened there.
Okay.
I don't remember a lot of it. I remember posting about it on Facebook because people were just like, oh my god, DashCon, look at all these things about it. Somebody peed in the ball pit. I'm like, okay, I was in the ball pit, there was no pee in the ball pit, alright? But, I mean, it was an experience. But, it just wasn't well run. Like, I know there was somebody that went through and did a breakdown of like all of the people that were actually running it, and like how nobody really had a lot of experience with any of this.
And they wanted to go whole hog too, right? They
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
our biggest and best right away. You know?
Yeah, and it's like, I see what you guys are doing there, but I mean, one small thing that y'all did was now Night Vale won't go to any cons. That's a problem. That was the first con that they had ever like attended to go to.
Oh, and it's just,
Yeah, and like what happened there was something about like, again, they wanted to be paid before they went on, but like the con couldn't pay them right then, and they could take money out of the ATM, but they can only take out like $200 at a time, and so they had to like go somewhere else to go to the bank and like get the money out. But then Night Vale was like no, and they didn't want to wait for that, so they just like left and went on. But of course, we didn't find out that Night Vale wasn't going to perform until like 20 minutes after their performance was supposed to have ended.
Oh.
So that was a fun hour and a half
And
sitting
you had
there.
to pay extra for Night Vale tickets.
Well, if you just came in, like there were a lot of people that I talked to while we were waiting for the hour and a half.
Yep.
There were people that were like, yeah, I just bought tickets to go to, like just for today, specifically so I could go to the Welcome to Night Vale, and they were pretty pissed off about it. I don't know whatever happened with refunds or anything. They had said that like when they were collecting money, they were like, you know, if you want a refund on your money, you know, since we're planning on making the money back, like if you want to do that, then just like send us a message. If you send it through PayPal, then we'll figure that out. I gave them like $10. I'm like, I don't care. Y'all can keep my $10. Whatever.
Sure.
But I don't know what happened with there. I don't know what happened with people getting their refunds or any of that. Overall, the experience itself was not bad, but the con and the way it was run was awful. But it was just, like, I had a friend who was a volunteer there, and he had no idea what was going on at any point in time. And it's like, there were times that I went to him and I was like, hey, what's this about? And he's like, what? And so I had to be the one to tell him what I knew. And he was like, oh,
Jeez.
wow. So, it just was not well run. It wasn't bad. It was a nice venue and everything.
Sure.
They just, I think they were not prepared.
I know that.
On that side.
Yeah, I heard that they basically made a lot of promises they couldn't keep, and attendance goals, and I know when a bunch of artists and everyone came over and vendors, and only had like a handful of the number of registrants that they were going to have. There's lots of things. I mean, that's the whole thing about trying to do something big right away. I mean, it's a huge financial venture, and you don't have a clue if it's actually going to take off or not.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, overall,
Yeah.
like it was,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was a pretty large convention, especially
Absolutely.
the first year. It was large, like it was at least twice as big as this, like the venue that they were in, it was at least twice as big as this place, if not like,
Sure.
but it was, they started.
They thought it would be like fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of people there. Like the Night Vale showing, that room was packed. There were a bunch of people, but it was too much for them to handle, I think. But,
Sure.
yeah.
One thing about meets and stuff, I do staff FWA for a week in Atlanta. So Also, having staff experience, you can see a lot of behind the scenes things that go on. Yeah. Who else here actually has staff before? Anyone? A couple people? Yeah. I mean, it's so amazing because it's like, oh, well, attendees like, oh yeah, everything's running so smoothly. Behind the scenes, like, oh my God, where's this guy? Where's this guy? I can't find, you know, you just can't find anyone. It's like, I need this right now, and people just don't seem to notice. But which I guess that makes a great con is where you're covering up little errors that can happen. But one of the biggest things there are rumor mills that can get spread like crazy. FWA a couple years ago, if you heard, there was carjacking and a car got broken into. And one of my friends said, oh my God, 50 cars got broken into FWA, and all this stuff. I said, no, it was one car got jacked, the trailer got stolen, and a car got broken into because someone had left their computer in their passenger side seat. So it's like, well, they're kind of asking for it, and it's a land. So it's not anyway. But it's very dangerous for stuff like that to get out of hand because you don't know what's happening, you don't know what's the truth. Because people say, oh, 2, 4, 20, and the more you exaggerate it, the more profound and more impressive it sounds, so. That's obviously something you gotta be careful with when you're obviously hosting definitely a much larger venue event. I was gonna talk about something else too, I'm trying to think. Okay, so question I got when I did this panel before was, so how many people here have furry friends but you don't know all the people's names, real names? Pretty much everyone, right? There's probably 50% of my friends I actually don't know their real names. Which, okay, well, Furry McFluffy Fluff is okay as a name, right? But if you run into issues, that's not good. I actually had a friend of mine, I didn't know his real name. He started freaking out of my house, panic attacks like crazy. And he was basically, I need you to call 911. And I'm like, dude, we just had too much to drink, you're fine. Like, no, call 911. Like, get louder and more belligerent at us. We're like, I don't know what to do. It's New Year's. So I finally I ended up reluctantly calling 911, saying, hey, this is not an emergency. First thing I get, if this is not an emergency, sir, you should not call this number. I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't know who to call. And it's like, please call this number. So I call that number. Obviously, it routes the phone call differently, but same dispatcher. I was talking to the same dispatcher. And then she's like, what do you need, sir? No. Anyway, well, it's probably a formality or something, I'm sure there's some protocol. If it's 911 emergency, that could be something. If it's this, they can do it, lower priority. So I explained, my friend is hyperventilating. He will not stop talking. He wants 911 to be called and stuff, and he's having a panic attack. He's like, okay, sir, we'll send over the paramedics. What's your friend's name, by the way? To get the information. I'm like, just a second here. Luckily, he was out of it. His wallet was like laying on the floor next to him, so I'm like making sure he does not see me. I'm like, okay, it's this guy. Okay, we'll be right out. Come to the door. Okay, where's Tom at? He's over there. 2 of the paramedics are there. One's like, oh my God, what a waste of time. You can tell in his body language. But they dealed over instead, and he was still panicked. He's like, sir, you need to calm down, you're gonna be fine. And after he saw that authoritative figure there, he finally calmed down, just actually passed out and he was fine. But, none of us around him could actually console him enough. Maybe if I had a friend dress up in like a little paramedic suit, it might have been, I don't know. But that's one of those things where you don't think about, oh yeah, it's actually important to know people's real names sometimes. And just another caution. Like I said, I'm not gonna know everyone's name at my meets, but just it's something to be wary of. Have you guys, any of you guys actually host meets? You do?
Kind of.
Kind of?
I've hosted Homestuck meetups. I'm actually hosting a speaking event.
Oh, nice.
This next weekend.
Okay.
I don't know why I did this to myself.
So do you have some commonalities? Obviously, you said Steven Universe.
Steven Universe.
Yeah. So that's obviously something that everyone likes.
Yeah, like we've had. I live out in the Louisville area, and that's where we host meetups. But we had a general cosplay meetup once, and it wasn't horrible. There were a lot of people that enjoyed it. Personally, I felt like there just wasn't enough for people to really like connect with. Like you know, like you can look at somebody and they can be wearing a cosplay from like a specific TV show or something. You can recognize it, go and be like, oh hey, I love your cosplay. I love that character. You know, and start talking about that. But it's like then you have those people that are in like generic big costumes, and it's like it's harder for people, especially that are very introverted, to like start conversations based on something like that. Obviously with FurSeet, it's like, hey, furries, what's up?
Sure.
But like, I don't know. It's just you gotta. I mean, a lot of the meetups that I do are like generally between friends, and it's like friends invite friends of friends and stuff like that.
Okay.
So it's like everyone pretty much knows somebody.
That's cool. Yeah.
It's easier to do that. We generally don't have a lot of people that just kind of show up and don't know anybody.
First was
Well,
pretty
Yeah, there were a couple. Yeah, I had a couple of meetups where people came in.
so are yours open to invite or not? Or how do you get the word around for your meets?
Usually we have a couple of people. There's a few of them that are like bigger name people that have plenty of followers on Tumblr, and it's not as huge anymore. We try and keep it more like the smaller stuff where we know everybody and you know have comfortable conversations and stuff. But it's like before when we had really huge meetups, those people would like post on Tumblr and they would like put it under as many tags as they could like think of that people would go looking for stuff like you know.
So it was pretty much open though.
Yeah, those ones were pretty much open. I'm not saying like the ones that we have now aren't. Like if you want to, yeah, sure, but it's like we're not going to advertise it out there too much, just because it's easier to like control those smaller amounts of people. But it's like we try and keep as much communication with you know like hey, are you people going to bring some stuff? You know, who's going to bring this? So we don't because we have a really bad tendency of everyone bringing desserts, and we don't have any real food. And so it's like a while back we started like telling people like, hey, bring a couple dollars and we'll order a pizza.
Nice.
And we actually had a couple of pizzas delivered to the park, and it was pretty hilarious to see the people's face because like you know Homestucks were in gray paint and everything, so they're just like, what?
Do you want to bring up camp stuff? Because that's
There's camps.
here. I won't make you, but her and one of her friends a few years ago ran camp stuff, which is pretty much a 3-night overnight Homestuck meetup, and you're out camping.
Oh, okay, sure.
And it was actually a pretty big success, I would say.
Yeah.
Everyone had a lot of fun with it.
It was good.
And I mean, you know, we had a dessert problem, so we had to go around and get hot dogs before everyone came. But you know, other than that, it was you know a really great meetup. And although not a lot of people had things in common, there was a lot of things to do, like camp games and hiking and stuff
Just
like
by
that.
being outdoors, camping, that's going to whittle down a lot of people right there. I mean, we just had a camping meet. I just had a little small camping meet and said, okay, bring a bike, bring swim trunks and stuff, and we got together. A small meet. It was wonderful, you know.
Yeah.
But absolutely, that's great. But that's another commonality, common interest.
Yeah, then typically we also make the like central place for planning and everything is we do a Facebook event because then you can actually see like approximately how many people are coming.
Sure.
Because people can say like they're going or they're interested or they can't go.
Gotcha. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, that's generally how it's like we get a rough count because sometimes people will stay on interested and they won't actually change it to going, and then some people will be on going and then last minute then they can't go but then they won't change it. So it's more of a rough estimate, but
It's better than that.
yeah it's better than
Like
that.
I said, with my form, I feel like, you know, it's always, if you have like 50 people, you always have about 5 to 10 that don't show at all. Then you have another probably 20 that do show, so it balances out a little bit. If I see 50, I'm going to guess about 60, you know. It's always going to be a little bit more.
Yeah, it's always good to have leftovers, but if someone goes hungry, it's a little upsetting.
My meets are all been, or my main large meets have all been open, invite, like whoever wants to come comes. And obviously that can get into little problems too, but fortunately for me, I've had pretty good luck with that. I mean, you can always get riffraff, that's always going to be a problem. The key is, as long as you have a couple people that can help you out, clean up, make sure that things aren't getting too out of control, that's fine. For a while, actually, in my meets, because of the incidents I had with alcohol, I actually banned alcohol in my house for about 2 years because I didn't want that to happen again. And I've slowly let, okay, it's fine, you know, people are more cognizant about being total idiots drunk. But I mean, you know, that can happen, and you don't have it. And in this case, I don't think I could have controlled that anyway. He just obviously just was like, he's 21, he's just like never had much alcohol and blah blah blah. Just wanted to go full force, but you know,
Don't do that to yourself.
yeah, he didn't obviously know his limits. So you just gotta be wary about stuff like that too, because it can cause lots of issues. And it can be not fun. And if someone got hurt on your property, that's another thing I do worry about. If someone got injured on my property, you know, that could be a big lawsuit. So
Yeah, that's an issue we faced with our anime convention in Toledo, Ohio.
oh yeah,
Last year we had almost 1,800 attendees
Oh,
at
wow.
our convention, and
very good size. Yes.
we had to up our liability insurance simply because of injuries.
Wow. What can I ask? How much that insurance costs, or is it?
I honestly don't know. That's not my department. I'm in charge of the dealer's hall.
But it's not cheap. That's
Right,
that's what
right.
I mean too.
Altogether, not this past convention, but the previous one, we made $23,000 gross. We took home only $2,000.
Wow. Yeah. So you basically were staying afloat.
Yes, but we had enough to grow for the next year by a little bit.
Sure. That's a good point. I just actually didn't staff, but I volunteered at this little con in Canada called FurMeet. And it's basically this one guy's creation, and he's been dumping tons of his own money into it. Like, he's probably dumped $25,000 over the course of 5 years out of his own pockets, just to have people have a good time. And then the problem was some of the staff people were very frivolous with money and how it's spent, so they'd always run a deficit. This is the very first year they ran a profit. It was $900, and it's a ton of 800 people. So I mean, it's not really even a profit, you know. But I mean, just think about it. That's another thing. It's just people don't realize how much things actually cost to run. So. Yes.
How do you accommodate fursuiters in like public places, or is there really a way to do that?
At my storm cons, what I've done is I basically went around the parks, kind of looked at for better areas and worse areas. So what I do is we actually have a pavilion that's pretty much shaded on 2 sides with lots of trees. It's pretty enclosed. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, so there's not many people around. So what I do is I actually have a change area there. I'm actually bringing all my fans over there, extension cords and everything, so people can change behind a couple curtains, come out. So that's what I've done. I mean, there's other ways to do it too, but that seems, for this event, it seems like the best idea. People got more relaxed about fursuiting and like taking their head off in public, you know, but I guess I don't care so much, it's whatever you want to do. But yeah, it's definitely good to get a little screen so you get a little bit more private. So people, like this road's it's the very end of the last road, or the pavilion at the very end of the road, so people are just normally driving up there to see everything that's going on. So that's what we've chosen as a site, and I think that works pretty well. So did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for a wrap up here? Yes.
I feel like in some cases, there would need to be kind of like an age restriction somewhere.
Okay,
Because
yes.
it's like, you know, you do have those younger furries that are like, you know, the very young, like, you know, starting out like, you know, 12, 13,
Yeah.
going upwards, and then, but then it's also, you have like the older furries that are like, you know, generally like a lot of older men or women that are into fursuits and stuff, and it's like, I feel like parents aren't going to be super chill with that. So like, how do you?
Okay, I have a good story about that. So the question was basically underage people, you know, if you're under 18, you know, and that's another thing too. If you're on a private property, that's definitely a big liability. So obviously some parents hate it. Some parents don't understand it all. And there have been people that messaged me, and like you can tell even with their how they spell things, they're like not very old. I had this one girl that wanted to come to my meeting. She was 12, and I said, "I'm sorry. I will not allow it." And I part of it is just I don't want to deal with it. It'd be very, very tough. It'd be kind of awkward for everyone. Everyone's like 22, 23, and she's 12. I mean, I don't want to be a babysitter. So I mean, especially in your own venue, absolutely. You can definitely say no. in the open invite places, I basically said if you want to bring your parent with you, it's very, very nonchalant. You know, that's fine. You know, have a guardian. And that seems to work out okay. So going back to that, having an open invite at my place, and this, I wasn't prepared for this. I never even thought about this. So I get this knock at the door one day, brand new person coming. Is this DeBoa's house? And the older guy shows up, knocks, and says, "This is DeBoa's house," or Inbo, or whatever. I'm like, "Yeah, this is my place." "Okay, son, have a good time." I'm like, "Huh?" This guy comes in, really shy and meek. And he's like, "Hi." I'm like, "Hey, how are you doing?" I'm Chu. How are you?" I'm like, "I'm doing well." So I was trying to make small talk. So so how are you doing? Are you from around here? "Oh yeah, I'm around here and stuff." And he said, "Okay, yeah, you taking classes and stuff? What program are you in, Kirkwood or something?" Oh no, I'm a junior." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, what are you studying?" "Oh, I'm a high school junior." "Oh, okay, not prepared for that at all." I'm like, this is kind of awkward. So he was 17 at the time. But this actually became a very good story because his parents just thought the world of the FurMeet, and he wasn't ever getting out to hang with anyone. He really didn't have any friends, and then all of a sudden he could be with people that he relate to, I guess. And he's really grown there and got very, very much more outgoing when we started. But that's definitely something I hadn't even crossed my mind. You know, some parent would just drop their kid off at my house and have a good time. My parents at age 17, hell no. They would be like, "What are you talking about? You're going to some 30-year-old guy's house to have fun? No way in hell," you know. So
That's not the kind of fun you need to be having that age.
yeah, exactly. Then what's really awkward is like 3 months later, she's like following his mom is following my FA account. So I think it's kind of vicarious living for him almost, but they are like the sweetest, coolest parents ever.
They are. They're awesome.
So, but yeah, it's just one of those things you just never expect. You never know. So, but yeah, I mean, you can definitely restrict who comes. Obviously, you can say no, and you can make age stipulations. I don't ID people at the door. I'm not saying that, but hey, I guess you can get in trouble if someone says, "Yeah, I'm 18." You know, some people tend to be 18 for about 5 years, or on on social media. Yeah, so definitely be worried about that. That could get you into trouble too. So. Any other questions, comments? I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, I'm Naboa. I'm on Twitter. If you have any questions, just contact me at Naboa. That's my Twitter name and everything. So hope you enjoyed it. Get a couple of good insights about if you want to start your own meet or how you can even improve upon a meet that you're already running. Thank you very much. Oh yeah.
How do you develop your name?
A good question. So my name is actually, I'm a big Lion King fan. I was like obsessed with the movie growing up. And it was one of those things where, you like Lion King too?
I love the Lion King.
It came out in a kind of a critical moment of my life. I was 16 at the time. What's Wow! I need some alcohol. No, but anyway. So anyway, I was just obsessed with this movie. I have no idea why. I'm like, why do I like this so much? Obviously, I didn't have any idea about furry or anything else, or even that I like lions. It just was like obsessed with this movie. So anyway, over the course of months and years, I'd be like searching the internet and stuff, and I'm like, oh, there's a Lion King book. I don't know if anyone knows what a muck is anymore, but it's basically, you can log on to these groups, it's basically text-based, and it's like an old cell Telegram almost. And you try to interact and you can role play. I'm like 19, I'm like, what's role playing? I don't understand that at all. I don't have a clue what that is. So anyway, I tried to join the muck. And they said, well, first you need to pick a character. And I'm like, well, lion, I like lions, that sounds good. I'm sorry, you can't just be a lion because everyone wants to be a lion. I'm lion. So, excuse me, so you have to either be like a lion cub or some other animal. Okay, that's weird. Okay, I'll be a lion cub. What's your name? I don't no. So I sat there at the computer screen for like 20 minutes, and I logged off because I'm horrible at naming things. Like I didn't name my dog because he came pre-named Storm. I'm like, that sounds good. I'll name him Storm. But so anyway, I was actually like, okay, I'm just gonna look at the Lion King lyrics, you know, like Ding and Dong, you know, all the opening chants and everything. I'm like, okay, I'll just make up my own word without knowing about the Swahili dictionary online or something. So I'm like, I'll just slam some letters together and it sounds like a African word. And that's actually how I created it. So it actually started as a muck character, which I only used for about, the name for about a year on Lion King Muck, because I didn't know what I was doing. But then I just decided, oh, that's a okay name to use, so I just stuck with it. So I mean, it's actually an 18-year-old name, actually. So that's how it came about. My first time I was actually drawn, I was actually at Camp Thrill in 2003, and they were, you know, there's a few artists there. I'm like, ooh, do a badge for $5. I'm like, okay. It's like, what are you? I'm a lion. Okay. Do you have any features? Oh, I don't know. I'll add some blonde streaks of a mane or something, you know. And that was like the first iteration of my characters. Over from there to like the course of 5 years, it slowly evolved. Like I actually started off as a quadruped, as a Lion King, and obviously slowly I went to as a more anthropomorphic character versus squad. So yeah, that's really how my character, my name started. So. But I mean, origin stories of characters are amazing stories. I love that. I mean, that's one of those. We should have a panel about that topic, right?
Yeah, you can do that. Go right ahead.
All right.
That'll be your next panel, but you know, I need to let Freddie get here soon.
Oh, are we over time?
You're a little over.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys for attending very much.
Nah, that's okay.
We were finished up then.
Yeah.